Check it out! I have not one, but two TurboGrafx-16s here. But one of them doesn't work. So there's a guy I know, he asked me if I would fix these. I guess I'll start by removing the protective plastic off of that one. Okay, it's completely refurbished now. I'm not really super familiar with these. I'm actually more familiar with the Japanese version, which is the PC Engine. But you know, they take the same kind of really thin hue cards. So yeah, I'm kind of curious to see this because you probably know the Japanese version is like tiny, right? But you know, it's gotta be bigger for America. Look at this insane expansion bus on the back of it. I guess that's for like the CD-ROM and also the composite video, because by default it just has RF out, which is kind of lame. I don't really remember any of the songs from Book of Mormon, except for the one about the frog, which I will not repeat on YouTube. I thought the first half of that was a lot better than the second. I actually saw it on Broadway with Josh Gad before he was a snowman. Come on. There, oh. Weak. How well is the RF shield attached? Solder tabs. Was it soldered in place? What's holding this in? Oh, maybe those two screws there. I guess once you're inside, they're like, "Sir, we've been breached. No need for security screws, just use Phillips." That's actually very common. I want that amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat for myself. Throw him into a... Is it a well or a lion's den? People are always being thrown into pits in religion. Do you have religious writer's block? Throw your hero into a well. It always works. Oh man. Oh, this Jonah guy, I'm not real sure to take a story. We already threw someone into a well and into a lion's den. I know. Let's throw him into a whale. Max, Allison, and I have all now read Hero with a Thousand Faces, so next time we do a movie night, which will probably be eventually, we're going to do a book club review of it. It will be like the Finer Things Club. Well, it's definitely well shielded. Not really too thrilled about the fact that some of it's soldered in place. I don't know, it just doesn't seem as user serviceable. Oh, and it looks like they've attached the two halves back here to those screws. See that? Man, look at that expansion port. That must have cost them a fortune. Or you could be like Sega and just have a card edge connector. Well, I guess it's a lot more dense than a card edge connector. Desolder what's left. Look how simple this system is. Isn't it awesome? Off the top of my head, I believe it's CPU, and then there's a audio video chip, and then I think the last one is actually what takes the video and makes it into NTSC, and then RAM, and I'm guessing this is a ROM. It's shielded for some reason. Look how simple this is. This makes a Nintendo Entertainment System look like the overly complex entertainment system. Whoa, that's weird. Look at that. What is the purpose of that? Is that some sort of power isolation thing? Look at that, those cutaways. I wonder if it was like something left over from prototyping, like some vestigial. Oh wow, there's a heat sink on the bottom for the bog standard 7805. I think we're going to have to remove that. Get the rear RF off. We could probably run it for a little bit. Oh, and then that's screwed to the rear shield. Let's see, the solder joints on the rear shield are better. I still don't really like it when it's soldered. I mean, Atari would just usually crimp them. You know, they would have like a tab that would go through the PCB. Because, well, for one thing, you can see this is, without much effort, this is ripping up the solder pads, which is never really a good thing. Trying to keep them as intact as possible. Well, that one kind of failed. This thing isn't that old. Well, I guess it's probably like, what, 30 years old now? Oh, man. Time flies. 31 years old. If I give a time in a bottle, the first thing that I want to do is blah, 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 just to spend it with you. And there never seems to be enough time. All right, thank you, Jim Crochet. All right. Well, that's clearly where the card goes. Actually, the layout is pretty simple. There's a controller port, which actually isn't compatible with a PC engine. I actually have a PC engine upstairs. A zip tie on a PCB. That's not too common. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, get back over there. Oh, that's holding the RF choke in place. It's basically an 8-bit computer with 16-bit graphics. So it's, I believe it is a 6502 variant. So when I hooked both of these up to my CRT television. Wait, cathode ray tube television. Okay, I was worried that was redundant. One of the things that you get back here is composite video and left-right audio, so maybe I could just do a mod. They have this module that plugs into the back that gives you this is huge honking module that fits in the back, and all it does is give you left-right stereo and composite. You ever hear that thing, the SuperGrafx, right? So it was NEC's follow-up to the TurboGrafx. And what the SuperGrafx did was, it was basically a TurboGrafx, but it had 2 video chips in it. So this console, as is, it only has, the graphics are pretty good. It actually has better color depth than the Genesis. But there's only one layer of background. I mean, you can fake parallax scrolling, and a lot of games do, but there's actually only one background layer. So the SuperGrafx has the same feature as like the TMS 9918, where you can put 2 video chips together, and the video chip's transparency layer can show the chip underneath it, which gets you double the sprites and double the scrolling planes. Yeah, but it's kind of weird. I wonder what that was for. Oh man, is that the problem right there? Can you see it? That's right, it's a cold solder joint. Well, that's obviously going to ground, which is probably going to be, well, I'm sure, yeah, it's a black wire. So we can test the continuity. Come on, let's beep. Beep, beep, beep. All right, continuity ground. No, it's got continuity. Still, I'm going to resolder it. Oh, the fix can't be that easy. Oh, that's too easy. He tasks me. He tasks me, and I will have him. Okay, Con. Con! Okay, so they're not passing the ground through the RF shield. I mean, they are, but they're not using it as a bridge. Because as you can see, this is kind of in half right here. There's a big missing part, although it traces back over here. Oh, I know this is 7805. This is a 7805 regular, which means the middle one is ground. Yep. And then, let's see, positive voltage is going here. It has positive voltage. They stitch it through the board, back up, down, and back up again. 7805, that is going to be the 5-volt output. All right, so what's something we, well, op amp doesn't, oh no, the RAM would have the power in the same place. Okay, yep, so there's 5 volts, 5 volts. There was some power filtering for the input voltage that they appear to have not used, but then the switch is over here. Oh yeah, and I just realized the board's upside down. So yeah, that's also like the Nintendo. Well, let's see. This is an overly complicated switch. Okay, so if power comes in, goes to the diode, diode goes to the fuse, fuse is good, fuse goes here, the power switch, flip the power switch, which means the power goes here. Flip the board over and see where that goes. Looks like it's a big juicy trace there, back from that. So let's find that here. Man, they really love to stitch their traces through the board. That goes to capacitors, which makes sense, which means this should be ground. Yep. Okay, then finally, finally it makes its way over here to the 5-volt power regulator. Yeah, so see? All right, traced all that. I guess the first thing to check is you may see if it's actually getting power or if the regulator's working. I mean, all the traces appeared to be intact. Slap on an alligator clip. Still haven't figured out who sings that song I was thinking about. Like, please go all the way. Okay, so the power regulator, power brick is rated at 10.5 volts, so of course it's way over. It's like 14, but whatever. All right, let's flip it on, see if we get 5 volts. I got 5 volts coming out of the power regulator. I think I should hook this up to my oscilloscope. I'm gonna go ahead and slap a temporary heat sink on this 7805 so it doesn't get overly warm while we're doing testing. You took a compact system from Japan and you Americanized it. So I'm gonna be looking for signs of life, starting with the RF box. I'm supposed to set my scope to run if I want to see anything. All right, here's a snapshot of what was going into the RF box. It's very clearly an NTSC signal. It's actually incredibly clean. You have your horizontal sync there, and you've got your color burst, and then it looks like you've basically just got white video. And then, yeah, you have your, this is your end of frame. See how everything inverses? All right, restarting the scope. Center, all right. Gonna go to the, I believe to be the composite video pin. And let's just increase, it's definitely doing something more this time. I'm gonna go down to 1 volt per division so we have more detail. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go to half a volt. All right, and stop. It's definitely, it's outputting pixels. Maybe it's just a problem with the RF box. Oh, I know, we could do this like scientifically. I don't know if it's even that scientific. Trigger, okay. Trigger on rising edge, and then the voltage level, let's make it. So yeah, let's try to capture bright pixels, okay? So I'm gonna go to single, and let's start it up again. Oh yeah, oh that's just it, okay, let's do it again. Okay, now we got some good stuff. There's certainly, this is like, you know, the wow signal for the alien hunters on Oak Island. Yeah, there's definitely intelligent pixels going on. I bet it's just a problem with the RF box. It could just be bypassed by adding, you know, composite video out. Because I bet that expander thing is kind of expensive. Now I just realized something. The signal going into the RF box is going to have audio and video combined for broadcast. So I need to find composite video before it gets here, before the audio is added. Somewhere on the internet there has to be a pinout of that expansion port. Yep, there is definitely a composite video signal on that pin. That was the finest soldering job I've ever done. All right. Oh, okay, there it is. TV Sports Hockey by Cinemaware. So I haven't used this old Sony camera in like 3 months since I did that Nintendo M82. Even though the battery is, no joke, 20 years old, it still holds a charge. Look at this thing. It cannot be stopped. All right, I got these RCA phono jacks, left, right, and video. These are panel mount, which means you drill a hole or put them through an existing hole and then secure them with a nut. Looks like we might have some space over here on that side of the case. She came from Greece. She had a thirst for knowledge. She studied sculpture at St. Martin's College. That's where I caught her eye. She told me that her dad was loaded. I said, well, I'll have a rum and Coca-Cola. She said, fine. And in 30 seconds time, she said, I want to live like common people. I want to do whatever common people do. I want to sleep with common people. I want to sleep with common people like you. Well, what else could I do? I said, I'll see what I can do. Oh, I'm gonna need my America bits. America! F yeah! Coming again with our imperial system now. Inches! Heck yeah! Feet! Heck yeah! Cubits! Heck yeah! Hectares! Heck yeah! Stones! Heck yeah! Cubits! Did I already say that? I mean, it's not... Well, actually, these things have actually kind of become fairly desirable because, you know, they didn't sell that well. That's what makes things rare. Not that it's a collectible Pepsi glass. It's the stuff that doesn't sell that becomes rare, like DuckTales 2. I actually tried this experiment. Well, it's an experiment in progress. But you know that story with that Canadian studio, Silicon Knights? And, you know, they did like Sanity's Requiem or whatever, and then, oh, what else did they make? That Two Human game that took like 10,000 years to make. Anyway, I think they got like sued, left or right, I'm gonna put left on the left, like the left. They got sued by Epic Games for like not paying their license fees or something for the engine. So all unsold copies of their games had to be destroyed. So their last game was like X-Men Destiny, I want to say. So I had this experiment. Again, like I said, it's still in progress, where I went on Amazon, may have been drinking at the time. I went on Amazon, I bought like a copy of that game for the PS3, the 360, and the Wii. And, and the strategy guide, right? And so I put it into a box. And so my experiment is to see if it becomes valuable someday. Yeah, and I also did the same. I was at the Toys R Us in Times Square when they were closing, and I went in and I bought 3 Rose Tico action figures from The Last Jedi, and I'm like, you know what? This is what would be valuable someday. Maybe in 30 years, I could give that toy to my niece and she could redo her kitchen with it after her second divorce. Oh, did I just say that out loud? I hope my sister never watches this video. All right, so I'll just tie these grounds together, and then I'll double check the pin out, but it should be a pretty simple thing to wire. The RF shielding is kind of cumbersome on this, like how it's welded in place. That's, or not welded, but you know, soldered in place. It's actually not super common for that type. Well, it was more common in like portable devices, but not usually consoles. All right, so I gotta go from here to here, including where this missing ROM was. I mean, I would like to use cables like this because that would help shield it from interference. So maybe what I could do is I could cut a small notch like here in the shield. Where's the quad audio, man? Oh, man. It's the man trying to keep us down, man. Let's see. Which one's that? That's on the same side as video. So that is left. Left 4 Dead. Didn't they make Left 4 Dead 2 and then they stopped because Valve can't count past 2? I actually met Gabe Newell once. He's kind of tall, and I was asking him how tall he was, and he's like, I'm 6'2", and I'm like, well, are you sure you're not 6'3"? And then he's like, what's the number 3? Never heard of such things. Are you a witch? So apparently Gabe Newell talks like Keanu Reeves. Whoa. I am never going to release Half-Life Episode 3. Whoa. What happens to Alex's dad? I don't know. I don't care. I'm Gabe Newell. I have a beard now. One time John Carmack emailed me. He wanted one of my controller monitors. I think that was... it was either for Rage or Oculus. I can't remember. But I was like, oh my gosh! It's John Carmack! Because, obviously, I know who John Carmack is. I think my favorite example of a celebrity emailing me wanting to buy something was probably Trent Reznor. Because he's like, hi, I'm Trent Reznor, lead singer of Nine Inch Nails. As if I wouldn't know who he was. Yeah, he wanted like a portable Atari, but I never got around to making him one. I think the first like famous game person to email me, I think it was David Crane, back when I did my first Atari portable, and I was like, same thing. I was like, oh my gosh, it's David Crane. Who else? Well, Palmer Luckey, obviously, but I mean, he was like actually on our forums back in the day. Like if you go on like the old school Ben Heck forums, Lady Ada's on there, Palmer's on there. I know Palmer's kind of a controversial figure, but he's really intelligent. He's like, it's like one of those like whiz kids that you think only exist in movies. He's a sharp dude. Who's that? Oh, speaking of epic, who's that epic guy? Mark Rain. Yeah, I actually had a good talk with him on the phone. I think he wanted like, what did he want? It was some sort of Xbox related thing. The Trent Reznor one. That's the one I'll never forget. Hi, I'm Trent Reznor. Unfortunately, that was like, oh god, that's probably like 15 years ago. And nowadays, I have my Gmail. It purges after 5 years, just to save space. So those emails get lost with time. So if you email me and I don't respond, you know, don't take it personally. I noticed this kind of phenomenon on my inbox. I would call it legitimate spam. Does that make sense? Like, you get all these emails from places you've used, like, oh, Best Buy or Staples or Expedia is pretty bad for it. And then what I would start doing is I would start, you know, creating filters, right? So it's like, okay, if I don't want to throw the email away, but I put it in this folder called B2B, yes, which is a term no one uses anymore. But anyway, what I notice happens is that also causes me to miss mail, because then you'll miss like password resets or actual important things like Expedia notifications. Okay, I got the grounds wired up, so I will just connect these wires and then put the top half of the shield in place. You know what I should do? I actually have a PC Engine upstairs. I should actually, after I do these mods, I should take apart the PC Engine and compare the insides. Because I know the PC Engine is going to be far more elegant in its design. That's my big thing. I actually am really a stickler for elegant design, you know? I mean, look at this. The power adapter going through that choke and hot snotted to the board. That's about as elegant as Harvey Weinstein at a Miss America pageant. Oh, I just remembered I have some frozen cod in my freezer. I should thaw some out and make it for dinner. Oh, maybe I could make a video about it, although it's not really that much to it. Maybe the video could be called, "Did you know your oven has a broiler and how to use it?" See, unlike Texas Instruments and their Texas Instruments calculators filled with no Texas Instruments parts, NEC all the way. I remember the magazines at the time. They're like, yeah, the sound quality is so much better. It's like a CD versus a tape or something of that nature. All right, this went here, I believe. Hey, you ever want to see something really horrifying? Google Nintendo ad, "You cannot beat us." Some of you may have seen it before, but if you haven't, you will be mortified. You know, sometimes in the Ben Heck show, we would actually watch footage to see how we took something apart. Oh, we're hacks. Oh, it's like that Operation game, but on hard difficulty, with magnets attached to the screwdriver tool. All right, the patient's gonna live. See how the case doesn't actually fully fit to itself, but there's a little gap? That's actually on purpose. That's called the glamour line. That's so it kind of looks cool, but also because if you actually put the pieces right up to each other, you would see that they're imperfect. So it's kind of like a visual trick to hide the fact that it's never gonna be completely perfect. Okay, I've got it hooked up to my 4K television. Let's see if it works. Wow! Only the right channel is coming through. What did I do wrong? Ah, look at these graphics. Oh dear, I'm an idiot. There's like 10 minutes of my life I'm never getting back. I'm going to do the AV mod to this other TurboGrafx-16, but I thought it would also be cool to talk about the Japanese version, the PC Engine. Look how much smaller it is. This thing is so tiny. Here's it next to a calculator. Look at that, right? It's, I don't know, like 6 inches square, maybe about 1.5 inches thick. I actually bought this along with the CD-ROM so I could play Rondo of Blood. But it still has the same thing where the power switch seizes the cartridge. Now in this case, it's a RAM expansion for loading the CD-ROM games. So like for Rondo of Blood, you need like, well, the Super System card, which I think is 128K RAM. Let's take a look and see how much different it is. Still has that same ridiculous connector on the back. If I had to guess, the reason that connector is so big is I believe this has a separate data bus for audio, video, or at least video. It's an 8-bit CPU, right? And then that communicates with the video chip over an 8-bit bus. But then the video chip, that communicates with its own RAM with a 16-bit bus. So it's 64K of video memory, and it's using a pair of 32K RAM chips. So one of the chips is the high byte and the other chip is the low byte. So it's actually 32K words would be a better way to put it, which means 32K bytes. Just 4 screws. Well, obviously the RF shielding requirements are different in Japan. Oh, that's weird. Is that... the RAM chip is up there by the cartridge slot? Yeah, it ends with a 64. Let's look inside of it. And there's the video RAM chips. As I mentioned, there's a pair of them, so... That's bizarre. Why did they do that? This is so strange. I mean, I guess that was the cheapest way to make it. I mean... I love how... Aside from this, this is so bizarre. I've never seen work RAM. So this would be the 8K. This would be the 8K of RAM that's attached to the CPU. So you know what they'd call work RAM. I guess they did. Yeah, they probably didn't have enough room for it down here because it's kind of dirty inside. So I did do some more research. I can't believe the RAM is on a separate board. So let's see. Okay, yeah, so this makes sense. So, okay, so the 6280, that is the CPU. That makes sense because it's near the expansion slot and the cartridge and the RAM. I just can't get over that. Okay, all right. So that's going to be your video processor. So that's going to do your tiles and your sprites and whatnot. And you can see how most of it is connected with these lovely square right angle traces to the 32K RAM. So I believe that's going to work kind of like the Sega Genesis and also the Nintendo, where the CPU doesn't have direct access to the RAM. It has to go through the video chip. The 6260, that takes a data stream from the video chip and converts it into your video signals. I mean, that is a little different from like the Nintendo Entertainment System. Like the Nintendo Entertainment System, the PPU, the Picture Processing Unit, also creates the analog video signal. But yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe there wasn't enough room on this die to do that. Oh, and then you know what else? Maybe the idea is, yeah, if I had to guess, this one probably doesn't change, and this one there's probably like a NTSC or PAL version. Although I don't know if this thing was ever really big in PAL countries. I would assume the TurboGrafx-16 was released in Europe. Yeah, I mean, there probably wasn't room. Look at those traces. Seriously. But the thing I remember, like, this was really popular in Japan. This was actually, well, it came out in '87. So this was really like the main competitor to the Nintendo. And like it was more popular, definitely more popular than the Genesis in Japan. So yeah, it was a very popular system. It's just, I don't know, it must be a cultural thing. Like Japanese people like small consoles. Well, it's also a incredibly, you know, physically dense country versus like America. That's why they have, you know, short cables, because they have smaller homes. Like if you get like a Japanese Nintendo cable, even before like the remake consoles. With the remake consoles, I think Nintendo was just being lazy and not having a longer cable version for America. But even if you go back to the 80s, like I was at a game convention once and they had dog bone controllers for the NES. I'm like, oh cool, it was like $5, which is a good price. But then I realized it's a Japanese version, so the cable's like half the length, so it's kind of useless. Yeah, especially like in my living room, the TV is probably a good 8 feet from the couch. Well, the thing's not running that fast. I mean, you would never do this on a modern system because this would introduce too much latency. Because, you know, once you start getting up to like multiple megahertz or gigahertz, the speed of light over a length of cable actually is relevant. Man, that connector must have cost them a fortune. Even nowadays, connectors are some of the most expensive things in a device. But what I was getting at with the bus, like, see how there's 3 rows of pins? Now, if they were just to do a card edge connector, kind of like the Genesis has, there probably wouldn't be enough physical space on the end of the circuit board to actually have that many connectors, or that many connections, right? Because you just have top and bottom. But by using this connector, they can get 3 in the same space where they could only get 1 before. Because, yeah, that's 0.1 pitch, or 2.54 for our European friends. Man, you can make a portable out of this. I know there is, I used to have one, the TurboGrafx-16. You know, you get rid of this, and then you put the extra RAM chip here. I mean, these schematics all exist online. It wouldn't be that difficult to redo. And then, yeah, you could just find a 16 or 32K word RAM instead of 2 8-bit RAMs. Well, yeah, I see you modernize this, get rid of that, get rid of that. Yeah, you could get rid of the expansion port. Yeah, you could. Oh, man. Are these things region locked? Because I know the PC engines are like common as dirt, whereas the TurboGrafx is actually more rare and expensive. Oh, like I need more projects. I need to finish my existing projects. Well, I'm going to get this button back up and then do the video mod on the other TurboGrafx-16. I changed my mind. This case is so simple, and there's only 1 sticker on it. I'm just going to wash it like a dish. And then we have the audio video mod installed on the second TurboGrafx-16 as well. Well, cool. Thanks for joining me for this look inside of the TurboGrafx-16 and its Japanese predecessor, the PC Engine. Quite a difference in design, wouldn't you say? Yeah, so I'm trying to do more repair videos. I've got some cool projects lined up. I just need to, you know, catch up, you know, like get through my backlog. Yeah, we have like a demo Nintendo DS system. Then we have a Saturn Prologue 21 Japanese karaoke machine. Then a Sharp X68000, which is, again, another computer we didn't really see here in the States. Then also RDI Halcyon home system, which is incredibly rare. So yeah, all this and more should be coming up sooner than later. I'll try to get caught up as best I can. But yeah, stay tuned and we'll see what else we can fix.